What if Will Smith was never supposed to put on that suit? What if the entire machine, the cast, the look, the ending, the song, nearly collapsed before a single frame hit theaters? Men in Black is the story of a production held together by improvised decisions and genuine chaos. We're going through 18 facts that will completely change the way you see this film. And stay for the bonus. It's the one secret almost nobody talks about, and it changes everything you thought you knew about where this whole universe came from. Stay with me. The list starts right now. Number 1. The casting disaster that almost ended the film. Chris O'Donnell was officially cast as Agent J. He'd done costume fittings, table reads, and weapons training, then quit 14 days before filming started. He'd just wrapped Batman and Robin, and his agent convinced him another sidekick role would destroy his career. Columbia had spent 8 months pursuing O'Donnell exclusively. There was no backup plan. David Schwimmer passed. Matthew Perry passed. Brendan Fraser was committed elsewhere. Will Smith wasn't even on the original list. Executives thought he was too comedic. Smith's agent called Columbia directly and demanded an audition. Smith flew to New York on his own dime, walked in wearing a black suit he'd bought for the occasion, and improvised the entire "I make this look good" attitude that defined Agent J. Sonnenfeld was immediately sold. Columbia had no alternatives with filming 2 weeks out. Smith got a 48-hour deadline and signed immediately. That's how close we came to a completely different Men in Black. Number 2. Tommy Lee Jones refused to speak to Will Smith off-camera for a month. The friction between Agent K and Agent J on screen, a big chunk of that wasn't acting. Tommy Lee Jones made a deliberate decision during the first 4 weeks. No friendly interaction with Smith whatsoever. No lunch, no small talk, no conversation unless a scene required it. Smith didn't know this was a strategy. He'd try to joke around, and Jones would just stare at him and walk away. Smith later described feeling genuinely hurt. Crew members worried the film was in serious trouble. After 4 weeks, Jones invited Smith to dinner and explained everything. He'd been manufacturing authentic emotional distance that couldn't be faked. Once Smith understood, they developed a real friendship. But Jones never told Sonnenfeld or the producers. They were genuinely concerned about the dysfunctional relationship until Jones revealed it was entirely intentional. What looked like a crisis was a performance being built from the ground up. If you are enjoying this, take 2 seconds and leave a like. Subscribe if you want more videos like this. That support really motivates my work and helps a lot with bringing more content. Number 3. The entire Bug character was redesigned 3 weeks into filming. The original Edgar the Bug was a conventional insectoid creature, hard exoskeleton, multiple eyes, generic sci-fi alien. 3 weeks in, Sonnenfeld watched dailies and demanded Industrial Light and Magic start over completely. ILM had already spent $2.3 million on the original design, all of it scrapped overnight. Sonnenfeld's new concept: instead of a creature in a human disguise, he wanted a human body being worn by a creature, like an ill-fitting suit. The Bug would be inside Edgar's skin, moving slightly wrong in a way that disturbs without being obvious. ILM executed that idea in 9 days because Columbia refused to delay further. Over 80 artists worked around the clock. D'Onofrio had to completely reinvent his performance based on a character that didn't exist when he started. The redesign added $4.7 million and cost 12 shooting days, but the character that emerged became iconic. The original would have been completely forgotten. Number 4. Will Smith improvised the entire intergalactic kegger scene. The scene where Agent J confronts the Arquillian Prince had exactly one line in Ed Solomon's script: "We need to find the galaxy." Sonnenfeld told Smith to make it more urgent. Smith improvised a 3-minute rant. The kegger line, "Elvis is dead," the whole escalating absurdity. None of it scripted. Tommy Lee Jones had memorized responses to specific lines. When Smith fired off entirely different material, Jones had to abandon his prepared dialogue and react in real time. You can see him genuinely figuring out how to respond. The improvised version tested 37% higher than the scripted scene. Columbia executives initially demanded the original be used. They'd paid for specific dialogue. Sonnenfeld screened both versions, and the improvised cut won unanimously. Reshooting surrounding scenes to match cost $217,000. The most memorable scene in the film exists because Smith threw the script away. Number 5. The neuralizer props cost $47,000 each, and 7 were stolen. Columbia commissioned 15 working neuralizer props at $47,000 each. Real LED technology, motorized components, precision engineering. Total investment, $705,000. During filming, 7 disappeared in 3 separate incidents. 3 vanished from a locked prop truck in New York City during a lunch break. 2 more disappeared from the Sony Studios prop department. Internal investigation suggested an inside job. Nobody charged. 2 more went missing in the final week, even after Columbia hired private security specifically to guard the props. All 7 showed up on the black market within months, selling for $80,000 to $120,000 each. Columbia sued multiple collectors and won only 2 cases, spending over $300,000 on investigations and replacements. The neuralizer thefts remain one of Hollywood's most expensive unsolved prop crimes. Number 6. The MIB headquarters set nearly killed dozens of cast and crew. The MIB headquarters was built inside an abandoned hangar at the former Tustin Marine Corps Air Station. 3 weeks in, structural engineers found the roof deteriorating, a 40% chance of catastrophic collapse within 3 months. Moving the set would cost $4 million and take 6 weeks. Reinforcing would cost $2.8 million and 4 weeks. Columbia chose reinforcement. Over 200 workers installed steel columns while filming continued. Some beams appear in background shots, digitally removed in post. During the final week of filming, a section of the roof collapsed at 3 a.m., 11 hours after the crew had left. If the timing had shifted by half a day, dozens of people would have been in that building. Columbia demolished the hangar immediately after production wrapped and said nothing publicly. Number 7. Vincent D'Onofrio gained 50 pounds and had a cardiac scare on set. D'Onofrio ate approximately 10,000 calories a day for 8 weeks before filming, gaining 50 pounds to make the human host body look swollen and wrong. In the 3rd week of shooting, he experienced chest pains and shortness of breath during an action sequence. An ambulance was called immediately. Tests confirmed no heart attack, but the rapid weight gain had raised his blood pressure to dangerous levels. Doctors told him directly, continuing risked permanent heart damage or cardiac arrest. They recommended he leave the film. D'Onofrio refused. The production hired a full-time cardiac nurse to monitor his vitals between every take. He was put on medication and a supervised diet that slowly reduced his weight while maintaining his appearance for continuity. The delays in medical care added $342,000 to the budget. It took him 11 months after filming to lose the weight. He later called it the most dangerous thing I've ever done as an actor. Number 8. The MIB theme song was written in 4 hours after RCA rejected the original. Columbia wanted a hip-hop track featuring Will Smith instead of Danny Elfman's orchestral score. They gave producers 4 weeks to write, record, and deliver it. The track was completed in 3 weeks, and RCA rejected it as not commercial enough. 6 days before the film's release date, Smith, composer Patrice Rushen, and producer Polk locked themselves in a New York studio for a 17-hour session. The theme was written in 4 hours, recorded in 6, mixed in 7, delivered 2 days before the absolute deadline. Exhausted and under pressure, Smith pulled actual film dialogue into the lyrics. A meta-commentary where Agent J raps about being in Men in Black. That wasn't a plan. It was improvisation born from exhaustion and a ticking clock. The song hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold over 2.7 million copies. A 4-hour panic session became one of the decade's best-selling film tie-in songs. Before we keep going, subscribe if you haven't yet. Drop a comment telling me which movie or show you want me to cover next with strange behind-the-scenes facts. I read every single one. Number 9. Tommy Lee Jones's deadpan delivery was partly caused by dental surgery. Jones broke a molar on craft services food during the 2nd week of filming and needed emergency dental surgery. The procedure left his jaw in significant pain for weeks. When your face genuinely hurts, you minimize how much you move it. His stiff, expressionless delivery wasn't entirely acting. It was Jones managing dental discomfort. He was also on prescription pain medication that made him drowsy and flat. The slightly vacant stare, the measured speech, the mechanical pauses, much of that came from being medicated on set. Sonnenfeld didn't realize how much Jones was struggling until he saw him grimacing between takes. The studio wanted to pause filming. Jones refused, arguing it would cost millions. Instead, the production rewrote his dialogue to require less mouth movement and reframed shots to hide his facial swelling. The result? A performance that became iconic because of limitations Jones was hiding. He later admitted the dental issue accidentally improved the performance by forcing absolute economy of expression. Number 10. Frank the Pug was actually 7 different dogs. Frank wasn't one animal. He was a rotating team of 7 pugs, each trained for specific shots. Dog 1 did sitting and positioning. Dog 2 did walking and running. Dog 3 did close-ups. He had the most expressive face. Dog 4 held the cigarette. Dog 5 handled the talking sequences with animatronics. Dogs 6 and 7 were standby backups. Continuity was a nightmare. The 7 pugs weren't identical. Their markings, sizes, and ear positions all differed. A dedicated makeup artist's sole job was applying cosmetic touches to make each dog look like the same animal on camera. Each pug also required its own handler, trainer, and veterinary supervisor on set daily. The total animal handling budget for Frank alone was $378,000. After the film's release, all 7 were adopted by crew members. Multiple lawsuits followed, with various people claiming to own the authentic original Frank. An animal that was 7 animals at once became the subject of real legal disputes. Only in Hollywood. Number 11. The original actress quit mid-production over Will Smith's improvisation. Sarah Jessica Parker was cast as medical examiner Laurel and filmed for 2 weeks before quitting. Her reason? She couldn't handle Smith's constant improvisation. Every take was different. She never knew what he'd say next. Parker trained in traditional technique, memorized scripts, precise blocking. Smith's freestyle approach made every scene feel unpredictable. She complained to Sonnenfeld that the improvisation was unprofessional and made her look stiff. Sonnenfeld sided with Smith. Parker issued an ultimatum. Stop the improvisation or she walks. The production refused. Parker left. 14 completed scenes with her were useless. $1.2 million in wasted work. Linda Fiorentino met Sonnenfeld on a Friday, got the role Saturday, filmed her first scene Monday, 1 weekend to prepare. Instead of resisting Smith's improvisation, she matched it, going off script whenever he did. Their chemistry was electric precisely because neither was following a plan. Fiorentino's instinct turned out to be exactly what the film needed. Number 12. The entire climax was rewritten and reshot 8 weeks before release. The original ending. The bug battle in subway tunnels. Kay gets eaten and isn't rescued. Jay floods the tunnels to win. Test audiences hated it. Claustrophobic, confusing, unsatisfying. They wanted the bug in open space. They wanted Kay rescued. They wanted a real victory. Columbia panicked with 8 weeks to release. Screenwriter Ed Solomon had 72 hours to conceive a new climax. He came up with the observatory, the galaxy, on Orion's collar, Kay being regurgitated alive. Immediately approved. The new ending required new sets, new effects, and the entire cast and crew recalled for 3 weeks of additional filming, 6 weeks before the premiere. The reshoot added $13 million to the budget. Over 150 ILM effects artists worked around the clock. The new climax finished 9 days before the premiere and tested 62% higher than the original. The ending that saved the film was written in 72 hours. Number 13. About 30% of Will Smith's suit is computer-generated. The suit was heavy wool. Looked perfect on camera, brutally hot under studio lights. Smith wore it for 2 days before telling costume designer Mary Vogt he was done. He was drenched in sweat within 30 minutes. Lighter fabric alternatives were tested. None looked right. The compromise? Smith wore lightweight cotton for comfort, and ILM digitally replaced it with the correct wool texture in post-production. Every shot had to be tracked and painted over. Digital suit replacement added $2.7 million to the effects budget. ILM had to create digital fabric that moved realistically, responded to light correctly, and matched Jones's practical suit in shared frames. Smith's constant improvisation made the job technically brutal. He moved unpredictably, and effects artists spent thousands of hours rotoscoping. The seamless suit you see on screen is one of the most expensive invisible effects in the film. Quick reminder to subscribe if you are enjoying these revelations. And tell me in the comments, do you know any strange fact about this movie that I didn't mention? Let's build the list together. Number 14. The alien autopsy scene used real cow organs and made the crew vomit. The autopsy scene used real cow organs from a slaughterhouse. Intestines, stomach, liver, lungs, modified with prosthetics and slime to pass as alien tissue. Sonnenfeld wanted authentic reactions. He got them. The smell under hot studio lights was catastrophic. Multiple crew members vomited. The soundstage was evacuated twice for ventilation. Linda Fiorentino required a medical mask with menthol just to get through the scene. Sound designers recorded her actually cutting into real cow organs with surgical tools. The squelching sounds in the film are completely real. Here's the part that became a legal problem. Using animal organs on a film set requires health department permits. Columbia didn't have them. After an anonymous complaint, Los Angeles County Health fined the studio $73,000 for improper biological material handling. The soundstage had to be professionally sanitized at a cost of $42,000. The smell had permeated the walls so thoroughly that normal cleaning couldn't touch it. Number 15. Rippy Torn was arrested during filming, and the studio buried it. Torn was arrested for drunk driving during the 4th week of filming after crashing his car into a production vehicle on the way to set. 8 hours in jail, then Columbia's lawyers negotiated the charges down. The problem? Torn was legally required to attend court hearings and alcohol classes during production. The schedule had to work around his court dates. Sonnenfeld rewrote Zed's scenes into compressed shooting blocks. Weeks of material was collapsed into 4-day marathons with 12-hour days. The restructuring added 19 shooting days and approximately $870,000 in overtime costs. Columbia's publicity team traded exclusive interview access to Smith and Jones to entertainment press in exchange for killing the arrest story. It worked. Most outlets never reported it. The studio considered replacing Torn. His footage was strong enough that they decided the expense was worth it. The arrest stayed secret until Torn revealed it in his 2007 autobiography. Number 16. The post office scene was filmed with real customers who had no idea. The scene where Jay discovers aliens in regular jobs was shot in a real, operating Manhattan post office during business hours with actual customers. Columbia got permission from the Postal Service. Hidden cameras were disguised as security equipment. The alien makeup was designed to look ambiguous enough that real customers might just assume they were looking at an oddly dressed employee. Some customers noticed. A few asked if it was Halloween. Others complained to managers. One elderly woman became genuinely frightened and had to be calmed down by staff who finally admitted it was a film shoot. Filming real people without consent violated privacy laws. Every visible person needed to sign a release after the fact. Private investigators were hired to track down customers using timestamps and transaction records. Over 100 people were contacted. 47 refused to sign and had to be digitally removed from the footage at a cost of $367,000. The authentic reactions came with a legal nightmare that lasted months. Number 17, Jeeves was one scene. A test screening laugh changed that. Tony Shalhoub's Jeeves was a throwaway character. Appeared once, never mentioned again. Then test audiences watched his head explode and regenerate. The laugh was the single biggest in the entire film. Columbia executives immediately demanded the character be expanded. Solomon had 1 week to write new Jeeves scenes. Shalhoub had 3 days available before leaving the country for 4 months. Rick Baker's team built 3 additional exploding head prosthetics in 48 hours. 48 hours. Shalhoub filmed 14 hours a day for 3 consecutive days. The scenes were written, filmed, and edited in 11 days. The expansion cost approximately $480,000. But Jeeves became one of the film's most cited characters by reviewers, and was immediately written into the sequel the moment it was greenlit. A throwaway role became a franchise character entirely because of a test audience reaction that nobody predicted. Almost at the end. And the best is still coming. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next, and drop your city or country in the comments. I want to see how far this video is reaching. Number 18. Steven Spielberg demanded his name be removed from the credits. Spielberg brought the Men in Black comic to Columbia and served as executive producer. After watching the first cut, he wanted his name off the film entirely. He'd envisioned a serious science fiction thriller with comedic elements. Something like Jaws or Close Encounters. What Sonnenfeld delivered was a broad comedy with sci-fi elements. Spielberg felt betrayed and threatened to publicly disavow the film. His contract required his credit to appear. Columbia couldn't remove it without his formal written release. The negotiation involved showing Spielberg test screening data, audiences responding to the comedy version far better than any focus group had rated the serious concept. The data made the argument. Spielberg agreed to keep his credit but demanded it be the smallest contractually allowable size and placed late in the credits. When Men in Black earned $589 million worldwide, Spielberg admitted he'd been wrong. He later said Sonnenfeld understood the material better than he did, and that his ego nearly cost him any association with the result. Bonus. The entire visual aesthetic came from a canceled theme park ride. This is the one most people never hear about. The sleek retro-futuristic headquarters, the 60s-inspired technology, the black and white color scheme. None of it was designed by film designers. It came from theme park Imagineers who built it for something that never opened. Production designer Bo Welch discovered concept art in Universal Studios archives from a canceled attraction called the Men in Black Experience, scrapped in 1995. Universal owned those designs. Columbia was making the film. A 6-week licensing negotiation and $300,000 in fees later, Columbia could use Universal's rejected theme park concepts to build Men in Black's entire visual identity. The original ride was canceled because Universal executives decided the concept wasn't visual enough for a theme park. Those same executives watched Columbia use their discarded designs to create one of the most distinctive aesthetics in science fiction cinema. And after the film became a massive hit, Universal built a Men in Black ride in 1999. Using modified versions of the exact same canceled designs. The attraction that inspired the film eventually got built because the film proved the concept worked. Outro. And those were 18 strange facts about Men in Black, a film that almost had a different lead actor, a different villain, a different song, a different ending, and a visual language borrowed from something everyone had given up on. Men in Black matters more than people give it credit for. Not just as a blockbuster, but as proof that productions can fall apart in a dozen different ways and still produce something that holds up decades later. If you made it this far, leave a like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me which fact surprised you the most. And don't forget to suggest another movie that deserves a list of strange facts. See you in the next video.